Good morning, Martin. How's it going?
Good morning to you too. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. Yeah. Um, just to start off, as I said, you're based in Germany, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. What's the weather like in Germany today?
Pretty English.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's not very warm yet then, or?
No, we had a couple of really nice days, but those have passed by now, and we're back to the old gray and gray.
Oh, yeah, same as here. I mean, the sun, well, yeah, we've had a few nice days in that over Easter, but yeah, at the moment it's a bit sort of grey and sort of a bit miserable, but
Yeah. Not a huge fan of that, to be honest. I'm more of a sun. I like
yes,
it when it's sunny out there.
yeah,
Even
makes
when
it,
I'm just here in the man cave, grinding away, I still prefer it to be just the feeling of knowing that it's sunny out there
yeah.
gets me in the mood right away.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, I want to talk about the man cave, but we'll wait talk about that later because it looks fantastic. We can't ignore the fact that you're surrounded by amazing equipment there.
Yes.
But if it's all right with you, I'd like to start from the beginning, Martin, if that's okay.
Mhm.
Sort of like
Yeah.
growing up for you, and then I want to obviously talk about your new album that's dropped recently, if
Hmm.
that's okay.
That would be
And
lovely. Yeah.
yep, so talk about your new album, and then also I downloaded one of your PDF. You got you got a new book out, haven't you?
That is
So
right. First book. Yeah.
yeah, and obviously you want to talk about that at some point as
Hmm.
well.
Lovely. Lovely.
I
I
got to
do
make
have a
sure as well.
paperback of it somewhere, but not here right now.
Yeah, I downloaded just the PDF one really. Just I'm sure nowadays a lot of people do that. I don't know over the
It
book
seems
or
to be that the paperback is really the best seller.
is it? Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
yeah,
it's 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 funny because I think everybody would have expected books to die out in the digital age, but here we are. People are still reading books. They're still
that's
enjoying books.
that's really good to hear. Really interesting. I thought it'd be the
Yeah.
opposite, but that's really interesting to hear.
And I actually personally I really enjoy that. I do think if you have a paperback in your hand, there's some added value to that, as
Yes,
opposed to just having a PDF that sits there with all the other 10,000 PDFs on your computer. I don't know if I do this sometimes as well. If I buy an instructional, I'll buy the paperback if I have an option and put it on the music stand.
yes,
There it is to constantly remind me to put in the work.
yeah. No, that surprises me. Like that's more popular, but I suppose yeah, people want to have a physical copy. It's quite
People,
nostalgic. It's
I
quite
mean,
nice to have.
you just mentioned my record. My CDs just sold out within like 2 days for the
Wow.
record. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is not convenient, right? I have to ship them all. I mean, because I'm signing them, so I'm shipping them all myself. That takes a few days to get there. You don't have the instant gratification, right? But people still choose to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about that, the album and that, so I'm going to leave that a little bit later if that's okay, because
Yes.
I'm excited to hear about that. Let's start, Martin, if it's okay with you. Can we start from the beginning? Like, how did young Martin get into, playing the guitar? How did you start playing the guitar? Were you young or were you a bit older, teenagers, when you got into guitar?
So I was always kind of interested in the guitar as an instrument, as a sound. I was always drawn to the guitar. Like when
Yeah,
I father would put on his Pink Floyd or Rolling Stones records, I would always be asking about the music and the thing, like the riff and satisfaction, right? That's the guitar.
yes.
Um, that's the cool part. That's the part I was interested in. I don't care about the eighth notes that the bass player plays. Who cares about that? I cared about
Yeah,
um, so that always grabbed my attention more so than the vocalist, quite frankly. Even as a kid, that was something I was drawn to. Drums as well. Drums was a big thing for me, but I wasn't
okay.
allowed to have a drum set, so that's another story.
Too noisy, was it? Or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Probably too inconvenient, too noisy,
yeah,
yeah, something like that. But here I am. I'm happy that I'm a guitar player because it's easier to write songs on the guitar than it is to write them on drums, isn't it?
yeah, I agree.
Um, and so yeah, always drawn to the guitar, and then eventually wished for like my father had an acoustic guitar laying around. One day my cousin came to our house and he brought an electric guitar and an amplifier, and small amplifier, marathon amplifier with distortion and reverb built in, believe it or not. And the thing that really got me was the distortion, though. When he cranked the gain
Yeah,
and the amp started distorting, it was that it was just such a beautiful sound to my ears. What I liked especially about it is that I could go to the guitar, I could barely touch the string, but the sound would be huge, right? The compression
Hmm.
of the distortion is what really excited me. So I wished for an electric guitar for I don't know, birthday, Christmas, I don't remember. Got my first electric guitar plugged into my dad's amplifier, stereo amplifier, hi-fi.
Yeah.
So minimal distortion. That was pretty disappointing. So I found out early on, without knowing anything about it, that if I crank the stereo all the way up, there is a little bit of that sound that I remember from the guitar amplifier. So eventually I broke my father's stereo because
Wow.
I was playing it on 11 the entire time.
So you actually plug your guitar into a stereo, like a hi-fi stereo,
Yeah,
yeah?
into a hi-fi system. And
Wow.
I didn't know anything about distortion. I didn't know what distortion was. I couldn't communicate about it because I didn't know the term.
Hmm.
I just knew that when I put the volume on 11, that's the sound that I liked.
That's really cool. How old were
Yeah,
you?
that's
How old
funny.
were you
Yeah.
then, Martin? How old were you then? Was that sort of
First, second class elementary school, maybe.
okay?
Probably first. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And
And
then I
then
started doing classical lessons.
yeah,
Horrendous. It was horrendous. I hated it. Was not drawn to it. That was not what I wanted, right? It's not what interested me. I had a horrible, horrible teacher, Frau Fink. If you're listening, you were horrible. She tried to break me. Honestly,
really. Oh
I'm
wow.
a passionate guitar teacher, and uh, she was my old music teacher in school, and she also did after hours guitar lessons. First of all, she couldn't play, but also she hated children, and she hated children who play guitar, especially, I think.
Perfect job.
And she, yeah, I got completely traumatized by her, but I stuck through. I guess that's what determination does to you. Stuck
That's
through.
amazing though, because I think we've all had. I've experienced that as well. Like I've experienced those type of guitar teachers when I was younger, because I was going against the norm. Probably like you, I wasn't really into classical guitar, or
Neither.
I was interested in rock blues. That was the way I was pushing, and because I
Yes.
didn't, maybe she didn't, and the lady didn't understand it. It was a lady as well, but she didn't understand it maybe so much. She really put me to one side, caused a lot of trouble for me. My parents had to come in, like very similar to what it sounds like what you're saying. Like it was,
No, she literally, uh, she had these long fingernails, and she would be on the table like this while I was playing, and did the metronome with her fingernails,
wow,
pulling that face. And then she asked me, "Do you really want to play guitar, Martin?" Stuff like that.
wow.
Yeah,
That's,
I mean,
I mean,
and honestly, and that's why I don't want to like do wash dirty laundry here, but I
no.
think it's something that's worth mentioning because these people do exist and they can break you. And my vow is to never be that person ever.
No. I
Yeah.
mean, it's amazing, Martin. Like, well, everyone's glad, I'm sure, and so are you. But that you didn't, because that could, when you're that young of an age, you could give up if they're making it that
Oh,
difficult for you. You could
you
easily
could start
say,
hating the instrument. Absolutely.
exactly, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've had similar experiences, I said, and I'm always the same as you. Like, I want to inspire people, not like, scare them. I don't want them to be scared as soon as they walk through this door that, oh no, they're going to be having a go at me today, or, that's not what you're after. But
And then I had a great teacher in my teens. But even him at times,
right,
he was a bit too elitist.
okay,
Like he would constantly judge my taste. Like when I got into Dream Theater
yep,
and I really started getting into technique, he wasn't that guy. And I think it made him really insecure.
yes,
And that I started like every 2 weeks I would or every week I would show up with new chops to play, and he didn't have any of those. And I think that made him. He was a great teacher otherwise, but that made him really insecure. And so like even in my college days I would be insecure about my music tastes. I would hide what I was into.
yeah,
I would not tell people that I'm into Paul Gilbert. I would tell, yeah, I'm hugely into Stan Getz and Charlie Parker these days. And that's horrible. Like I felt like I needed to do that to blend into the mold.
yeah.
um, and yeah, so even my a very good guitar teacher that I had kind of pushed me in that direction. It took me honestly, it took me a decade plus to own what I'm about and who I am.
Yeah, I mean, your friends around you in school and that though, were they into sort of Paul Gilbert and stuff as well, or did you feel a bit of an
No,
outsider? No, not at all. No.
first of all, like you mean in actual school or in music
Yes.
school?
No, in actual schools.
Nobody was interested in music in my school.
Oh wow.
I was literally the only guy having that level of passion for music. There was nobody else. I didn't have somebody to share that with.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, and that's why I started going online and signing up to the Petrucci forum. I don't know if you've heard of the Petrucci forum back in the early 2000s, but there was guys there like Tom Quayle, Rick Graham, Andy Wood, Pliny was there, I believe, Chris Brooks, those guys. There was like a this 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 cast of misfits.
Yeah.
And we all got together on that forum and communicated that way, you
But
know.
look at all of you now, though, mate. Like, look at all
Yeah,
of you now. Like, you've all done exceedingly well.
yeah.
So that's amazing. I mean, you said about music school. We call it like college over here, like college. Is it sort of, is that where you went off to next? So into
So
music
yeah,
school?
so
Yeah.
first those were private lessons that I had, and then my first proper lessons that I had were in conservatory.
Hmm.
Now in German, I think that's a little bit different. Like I went to regular school and I did conservatory on the side, which was just
Okay.
guitar lessons, theory lessons, those types of things.
Okay.
And then I went to college after all that. I actually went to music college for another 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was
Well,
that experience for you, music college? I'm guessing completely polar opposite to what you experienced with your old teachers that
well, it
you've
was a
just
lot better. It was a
Yeah.
lot better, but there was some of that elitism,
Okay.
and that was not even. It was partly imposed by the teachers, but not so much. It honestly came more from the co-students,
Okay.
because my interest was in other things than what most people were into. Like the colleges in Germany, the public colleges are very jazz focused.
Hmm.
Why that is, I don't know, because jazz, the understanding, also we have to talk about the understanding of jazz in the German music college world. The understanding of jazz is the jazz from the 30s to the 50s, and
Okay.
nothing before that and nothing after that.
Yeah.
That is what we talk about. Because I mean, we could talk about jazz here all day and all night. I'm not a particular expert on it, but I have a pretty good look into the jazz, the real jazz world. Not like, oh, he's a metal player who plays funny note. Now I have actual experience in the real jazz world,
Yes.
even though I'm not a jazz player.
Yeah.
Um, but I kind of know the mechanics of it, and I feel like that the gatekeeping and the elitism in the jazz world is so extreme that it damages the longevity of the music. And what I mean by that is, we would constantly debate in music college whether XYZ is jazz, whether XYZ is bebop. Is Pat Metheny really bebop? Well, he doesn't really sound like Charlie Parker, does he? So it's not bebop. And this guy is not jazz, and this doesn't qualify. As if there's some kind of uh, inherent quality to something being jazz. And so I feel like nowadays these elitists would listen to somebody like Cory Wong and go, "Oh well, that's not jazz, is it?" What they should be saying instead is, "Oh, Dirty Loops, Snarky Puppy, Cory Wong, they're all jazz because they are cool and jazz is not."
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And in order to revitalize jazz and get young people into jazz, you need to have young people making young and hip music. And that will get these people into jazz. Like the fans of Cory Wong, right? Cory Wong has a ton of metal fans.
Hmm.
A ton of his fans are from the metal world. They would get into him, find out that he's jazz if he were allowed, to wear that on his
Yes.
that badge. Uh, then suddenly they would go back in time and discover all the great jazz artists from the past. But yeah, I mean, this is turning into a major rant here, but
No. No. I agree
that
100%.
elitism hurt me in a big way back in the day, for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine, and it's amazing hearing that. That, as I said, that you've come through all of that, and you're obviously very successful in the guitar industry. So it's amazing that you kept going with all of that
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of.
yeah. And
That's
nowadays, I completely own what I'm about. I like rock music. Period.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I would I would never dare to say that in my college days. I love rock music. I love progressive metal. I love progressive rock. I like fusion. I like jazz.
yes,
Uh, but my heart is in rock music.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like nothing makes me happier than listening to Synchronicity 2 by the Police.
yes,
So
yeah. I mean, let's talk about that because that's a really good way to sort of segue to get onto that. But I found you, Martin, first of all, from your session band stuff. I mean,
mhm.
what a caliber of musicians in that band.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Like I found it on YouTube. I think it just popped up as like something I might like one day. Like a few years ago now, and I thought this is amazing. Like I think I watched Easy Lover. There's all of them I've watched. Like I've
Yeah.
gone through. it's fantastic, and the musicians you've had in as well to play, Paul Gilbert and other people in to play with you. But what a caliber of musicians! Are these all people that you knew of, or did you go searching for these musicians, or how did that come together?
Well, keyboard keyboard player Marius Leicht is one of my oldest friends. We've been
Okay.
friends for I think probably 22 years now.
Hmm.
Large cut of our life.
Okay.
Um, we've known each other from one of those jazz contests back in our conservatory days.
Right.
We were playing in different bands at the same contest, and here's that elitism thing. It's like they made us play these. It's so funny because they made us play these jazz standards in conservatory, but nobody was actually listening to that stuff from the band. Nobody was
Yeah.
into that. They
Yeah.
just made us play this. It must have been absolutely dreadful. I got into that stuff later on,
Okay.
legitimately, but back when I was 14, 15, I wasn't listening to jazz standards and
No.
trying to get good at them, but I was playing them because it was mandatory. And the same thing happened with Marius. He was in his other band playing jazz standards, and in the break, there was during the contest there was a break, and he set up a keyboard and put on an organ sound and started playing "Child in Time" by Deep Purple. I was like, oh, holy shit! I got to talk to this guy. And so we started talking to each other, and we've been friends ever since. He's come a long way. I've come a long way, but we're still friends, and nowadays we're still in a band together playing Deep Purple covers. So that has never changed. Um,
So is that all? Is everybody organically you've met in the band? Because it seems that way when you watch the videos. It seems like there's a rapport. You're sort of all having a great time in a room, and it seems like you really know each other really well.
yeah, it's
Are they all?
it's
Yeah.
pretty organic. So Ben, the bass player,
Hmm.
him I met through our mutual friend Nico Schliemann, the guitar player who plays in the medleys with us and who goes on tour with us.
Okay.
So Nico, I've known since 2010. We started chatting online, and then we kept running into each other at various music fairs, or whenever he was touring in town, we would meet up and hang out. And we've had a long-standing, yeah, we had a 13-year friendship now. And he introduced me to Ben, the bass player, and we kept in touch. I've known him for a couple of years prior as well, and we kept in touch, but we never actually played together until I had this idea of going to the studio and filming a couple of my tunes played live. And I was like, we could be playing bass on that. So I called him up. You want to do this? And yeah, rest is history, right?
Wow.
Um, and then Felix Lehrmann, the drummer, I got to know him through our Ibanez/Tama connection back in the day.
Ah, okay.
He's now playing DW drums, but back then he played Tama. So Tama and Ibanez are Hoshino, the same company.
Ah, okay.
And so there was a connection through that.
And a fantastic drummer as well. Like
Yeah,
really,
yeah. I
really
mean,
great drummer. Yeah.
just no arguments. There's just what can be said about this guy that hasn't been said.
Yeah, no, I mean, I said everybody in the band is at the highest caliber,
Yes.
and it's just enjoyable to watch. You just think because everybody is that top level, it's just like this is fantastic, massively musical. I love the choice of songs as well. Like that's as you said earlier, like you passionate about rock music, so am I passionate about rock and blues, and that's like what you do. You do Queen, all the ones you've done. I'm like, yes, these are brilliant, and played really well. Like that's the thing. Some people say, oh, you don't want to touch that song because it's a big song, but if you play it like you guys do, you can touch it. Like you can do it. Like you can go for it.
I honestly don't care, and I also don't care about quote unquote doing the songs justice in a way because I
Yeah.
I like I don't change my sound and my approach whether I'm playing Mark Knopfler or whether I'm playing Brian May.
Yes.
I'm playing as myself. That's
Yeah.
that's the concept. That's the fun part of it. We're
Yes.
not a tribute band in the classic sense.
No.
We are a group of individualists, so to say,
Yes.
that play together, and each of us gets to put their own stamp on
Yeah. Yeah.
the
I mean, I was quite surprised and quite happy that I found that you guys are on Spotify as well. Like all the tracks that you've done, I could find on Spotify. I was like, yes, I can now like
yeah,
listen
most
to
of
this
them,
in
and
the
that's
car.
fairly recent. That's fairly recent that I figured out how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed. I found it and I was like, great. So I don't have to like, have YouTube running like in the car down in the footwell or whatever, so I can listen to it. But now it's on Spotify, so it's brilliant. I just
Yes.
sort of, that's really cool. Martin, I will just check because I always do this. This is a live,
Mhm.
so I should always check that people do have questions and things. So if anyone does have any questions, feel
So
free to.
we're on YouTube Live right now.
It's on Facebook at the minute.
Facebook. Right.
But it will go out. This whole episode will go out again after the event anyway. Once I've edited the things, but I will just check because I've opened it out. If anyone has any questions, please do feel free to ask. Just to make sure a minute because people might have some. At the moment, just people saying really enjoying listening to this, so we'll wait and see. But if anyone does have any questions for Martin, please do ask them, and I'll try my best to keep an eye. Because I get so engrossed in asking you the questions, and I'm really interested myself as well to find out about your career. I forget to look, but anyway, so yeah, so back to the session band. Have you guys got any more plans to get into the studio and do some more things, or is that on the table at the moment? Or
I just had a session, but it was not with the full band. So
ah,
that's all I can say for now.
okay,
There was a session recently, but it
right,
didn't involve the full band.
okay,
Yes, there is a. We're going back to the studio in September.
mm-hmm.
With an absolutely phenomenal guest, and until then, I have a bunch more videos. There's another medley in the pipeline. There's
Okay,
a couple more studio videos with previous guests that are coming, and what else was there? And and we're going on tour. We're going on tour in May,
oh, cool,
and we're going to be playing at a few festivals as well. We're going to be filming most of it. So I'm also going to be like putting some things from those shows online for sure.
awesome. Is that UK? You coming to the UK? Is that the tour?
Hoping to towards the last third of the year.
Okay,
Hoping, yeah,
cool. Keep an eye out for
because
that.
we actually get a ton of requests from the UK, so
Can imagine.
it's looking pretty good that we might come to the UK. I cannot guarantee anything, but it's looking pretty good.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye out for that as well myself.
Mhm.
But yeah, so going back to the band and the session stuff that you do, the session band, I mean, it looks like a huge operation. Like there must be so many camera people in that room, and you know, do you edit the stuff yourself, like the videos and things? Because it must be a huge operation. Like
So
with
I
the
think we're 5 camera people,
yeah, yeah,
5 operators, and we got it like a total. It always changes from session to session, but an average of like 10 cameras.
okay, wow,
So 5 static ones, 5 movable ones, and yeah, I edited all myself.
wow, that's amazing.
I'm a nut job, but the editing, frankly, it doesn't take long. My workflow is so good with this stuff; it doesn't take long. The mixing the audio, that takes long because I'm
Yes.
an absolute perfectionist when it comes to that. That takes long. The video edit doesn't take long. The video edit, I can make one of those videos in 5 hours.
Okay,
That is not a problem. But the audio, I mean, the audio of a medley, like if I start post producing a medley today, it could take me 4 weeks to get
wow.
it out the door because then I start noticing all kinds of problems, and
Yeah,
it's easy to get it to 90% done, but the last 10%, well, maybe it's the 80-20 rule, right? The last 20% of the product are 80% of the work.
do you feel that's a lot of pressure as well, Martin, getting that already at the end? Like, is there any concern that like there might be an error with something, or you haven't quite got the footage or
Oh,
the audio? Like, is there like must be a huge amount of
horrible,
pressure? Yeah,
horrible.
yeah,
It's awful. Like, man, there is one, I still get nightmares from this today. Like, I gate the drums, and
okay,
there's one snare hit on the Queen medley where the snare is where the snare drum doesn't get through the gate, and it
okay.
gets swallowed in the mix, and it's slightly quieter than the rest. Still get shivers when I think about that.
Oh wow, well I'll
I
try
tell
and
you
find
exactly where it is too.
that.
And yeah, there's here and there. There was a video where there was a frame missing and stuff like that. Yeah, I get that all the time. Like on days where I upload, I'm miserable. And you know what's it's funny? I don't know why that is, but if I watch a video in my editing software and I watch it back, it's fine. I render it out, click the file, and actually watch it in the media player,
hmm
and then I notice all kinds of shit.
Why is that then? Do you feel like it's just because you're watching it in a program and then you've sort of put it into a file and then you've opened it
And
up on different
suddenly, yeah,
apps? Yeah,
suddenly I watch it as a consumer and not as the guy working on it.
good point. Yes.
I don't know what that is, but I have to render it out to look for the mistakes. I cannot watch it in the preview. Maybe also the quality is a little better, but still, it's not the same thing. It's
No.
the same with mixes. I have to render mixes out and listen to the WAV file. I think it's because I don't have all that other visual information displayed.
Would you call yourself a perfectionist, Martin?
Oh,
Yeah.
pathological.
I mean, it comes across like this. I said to you before on the quality of what you're putting out, the work is fantastic. But
And that's why I cannot outsource these things. Whenever
no,
I outsource things like that, I get disappointed.
yes,
I've started. I found this amazing guy. His name is Alejandro Hernandez. Hernandez, sorry, not Hernandez. He's from Venezuela, and he has a Reaper YouTube channel, and he started doing a ton of like design work for me, branding,
hmm,
also video editing. He started doing those things for me. I finally found somebody that has um, the same work ethic and the same eye to attention to detail is what I was
yes,
saying. He
yeah,
has the same attention to details I have, and him I can really rely on. So I've started outsourcing more. It's something I'm really trying to do. I'm trying to build trust with other people that I work with, and delegate instead of just doing everything myself.
yeah. Well, hopefully that gives you some more time back as well. Like to be able to,
Yeah, that's the exact reason. I don't want to be micromanaging too many things. Sometimes, you know what? Sometimes I would just like to sit down and play some guitar, practice some guitar.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, let's just talk. Can we talk about your studio, which you're surrounded with? I said I would, and it's there's like I say, a rack of guitars there, and I don't need to go through all of them, but there's some great gear there. I mean, is
I mean,
this?
I can
Yeah,
bring you the most important one.
of course. Yeah, that'd be great.
This one's my new baby.
Very nice.
Yeah, it just got announced like 3 days ago.
Oh
This
wow.
is going to
Okay.
be the new signature guitar for 2023.
Very nice. Is that based on like the AZ range? Am I right? Because I don't know.
Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
it's based on the AZN,
Okay.
the slightly more vintagey
Very
AZ.
nice. So
And
was that in Nam recently? Was that been hanging up in Nam?
yes,
Was yeah. Okay.
just announced it on NAM. And
Fantastic.
I've had it since September. I already started making videos with it. I started recording music with it. I've already done a bunch of work. This is the only guitar I play these days. It's so good. I'm so in love with this instrument. It's
Wow.
not even funny. This is easily, I think this is my favorite yet. This is,
And do you get given those to sort of? Do you have to like iron them out a little bit for you? Do you have them for a certain period of time, say 3 6 months, and then go back to Ibanez and say, "Or can we edit this a little bit, change this a little bit?" Or are you so happy with that now you don't need anything sort of?
well, this is technically still a prototype.
Okay.
And yeah, I was ready to do what you just said, but
Yeah.
this prototype was absolute perfection.
Nice.
It's based on the AZN range, so it's not like an entirely new design, so that
Hmm.
makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
But of course, the top is different, the finish is different, the bodywood is different. I have slightly different hardware. I have different tuners, so I have these kinds of adjustments made. So they're not like, I mean, the bodywood is a pretty integral change, but like they don't have to. It's not a custom neck shape or anything. That is the standard AZN neck shape. But this guitar is, I don't know. It's sometimes it's rare that happens,
Hmm.
but sometimes you get a guitar that is just magic.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. And this was it. This prototype was perfect.
What wood is on the body there, Martin? What is the wood on the body? Do you know?
So yeah, sorry, that's flame maple top and mahogany body.
Nice. Yeah, very nice. Is that a flamed
Believe it or
maple
not,
neck?
and that makes it brighter
Oh, really?
than the alder bodies. Yes, sounds a bit
Okay.
brighter. And for me, like, don't want to open up a tone wood debate here. For me, the wood is more about the feel than it is about the sound.
Okay.
The pickups are really the sound, aren't they?
Yes.
Uh, and but there is a huge difference. I'm telling you, there's a huge difference between the alder body and the mahogany body in the way the guitar feels to play. There is there is less pushback from the mahogany, I find. Like when I play an alder guitar, I feel like I pick really hard at times.
Okay.
I feel like my my pick attack is hitting a wall. There's something I cannot go beyond.
Okay.
Sounds totally esoteric. I totally
No,
will, but
it makes a lot of sense because when I play my Strat, like which is older body, I inherently play heavier, harder than when I play my Music Man or something like that. Like it's you're actually 100% right. I agree with you there.
with this, I feel like there's so much more to go. Wherever I want to go, this guitar wants to go too. It really feels different to play. It feels more natural. It just feels better. Period. Because I have two AZNs
Hmm.
here at home that, apart from the bodywood, are roughly the same, but I don't like them as much as this one.
Okay.
I mean, I'm also biased, right? Because it's got my name on it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Has that got custom pickups for you as well, Martin, in there, or is that based
No,
on?
those are
No.
the Fortuna, Seymour Duncan Fortuna.
Okay.
Absolutely amazing, amazing pickups. Like I've always loved the Hyperion humbuckers on the AZs, on the regular
Yeah.
AZs. Loved the humbuckers. Was never a huge fan of the single coils. I have an AZ with single coils, but I replaced the pickups
Okay.
because I didn't love the Hyperion single coils. But the Fortuna, mind-blowingly good pickups.
Very nice.
Absolutely
Um,
incredible.
and what is the neck roasted? It looks like it was roasted.
Yes,
Sort of. Yeah. Yeah.
yes. Obviously, we can put rosewood on guitars again. So the fretboard is rosewood, and this is the S-Tech wood
Very nice.
from Ibanez's AZ series.
It
AZ.
looks just as beautiful on the back as it does on the front as well, with the color on the back. It looks
It's
lovely.
very pretty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really
very
nice.
pretty. It's a
Even
very
the
pretty.
color on the back as well. Obviously different color to the front, but it's really
Yes.
lovely color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful guitar. Yeah. Really happy with this one. I can't wait for this one to come out. It should be sometime during the year. I don't know. There's so many factors, right? But
Yes.
yeah, can't wait for people to try this one.
Very nice. Has that got split coils on it as well, Martin, or you don't use any of that, or on?
Well, it's got the dynamic switch here,
Okay.
which, like, I'm not an electronics expert, but it puts some pickups in parallel.
Okay.
It also changes how many wirings are active on the pickup,
Right.
or how many wirings are used. Not sure about that stuff. Basically, it gives you, like, it has a 5-way switch, right? So that's 5 sound, and then you flip the dynamic switch and you get 4 more different sounds
That's cool.
for that as well. And I really enjoy the neck pickup with that switch engaged.
Okay.
Um, don't ask me what it does, but
Yeah.
it makes this single coil sound a lot warmer and fatter, and
Okay.
that's really cool for when I do want to dabble a little bit in jazz. I can do that with the single coil guitar as well.
Very nice. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful guitar. And Martin, what are you plugging that into? Like, what is your Am I right in saying you use fractal stuff, or is that not correct?
I use a ton of stuff. You can't see it right now. Can't see any of it right now, but there's my Laney's back there. I use the Laney Ironheart. It was my
Yes.
main amp for the past 7-8 years,
Hmm.
especially the IRT Studio for recordings.
Okay.
That one I really enjoy a lot. It's a very, very good amplifier. Incredible high gain distortion. For cleans, it's in the living room. It's my practice amp for the living room. I have a Laney L5,
Yeah.
which is 5-watt Lionheart. Insane amplifier, absolutely insane. I do have a bunch of other stuff. It's not here right now. I do have a Synergy system. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I've not heard of Synergy. No. No.
It's um, it's a modular tube amp.
Okay.
So it's a tube amp where you can swap the preamp modules as you go.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I could have like a Morgan AC20 preamp module, and then swap that out with a uh, Bogner Ecstasy preamp module and stuff like that, and it's all tube. So that's really cool. I use that for like a couple of specific sounds.
Yes.
Like if like the I love the Morgan AC20 module because that gives me a sound that the Laney, that's something that the Laney doesn't do, that
Yeah.
Voxy type sound.
That's cool. I was going to ask you your opinion on like modelers and Valve, what you
I
use
love
like.
modelers. I
Yeah.
love modelers. Uh, I have a right now. I just got, where is it? I know it's not in the room. So I just got an FM9 by Fractal Audio for the
Okay.
upcoming tour.
Yeah.
I just got myself that, which is obviously fantastic because I like it because it's extremely sturdy. It has a ton of I/O stuff, which is really good because I want to have FR Laney FR speakers on stage. I want to have even though we're playing with in-ears, I still want to have some guitar tone on the stage for sound checking, or
Yes.
like while the inner setup is still being done. I want to also have some oomph behind me, right, on stage. I want to feel a little bit of what I'm playing, and I also want the first row to get their asses kicked, or their faces. um, and it has all those capabilities, like tons of IO stuff on it. So I'm going to be taking the Fractal FM9 on tour. Yeah, I've done a ton of stuff in the past with the session band with the XFX2, XFX3.
Hmm. So you use, would you say like you use more modular stuff live, and then at
Yeah,
home you're using your like Laney valve amps and things like that at home? Is that? Yeah,
that seems to be mostly the case. Yeah,
yeah. And is that
like
for East? Is that for you? Is that East for you? Easier for you and to get your tone and with using in-ear monitors and stuff, or do you feel like it's some of the sound engineers at the venues prefer that, or is it a bit of both?
I enjoy the flexibility of it,
Okay.
the tweakability, the flexibility, like stuff like just let's just put a global EQ on today because it doesn't sound right at the front today or something like
Yes.
that. All that can be done, of course, with tube amplifiers if you can afford the luxury to put your cabinets backstage and mic them up, and you
Hmm.
have a rig this big, and you have a guitar tech putting it all together for you and maintaining it. That can be done, right? But like since I don't have a tech with me live, I do it all myself. I tend to try to keep it as simple as possible while maintaining the flexibility. And
Yeah.
also, we do stuff these days like
Okay.
MIDI switching the presets and stuff like that. It's just very convenient with the fractal stuff.
That's really cool. Like the MIDI preset and things, really interesting to is that changing your presets to the song as it comes up in the set sort of thing? Is it?
Yes, and even section by section.
Wow. Yeah.
Because if I'm singing and playing guitar, I cannot perform a tap dance at the same time.
Yes.
It
Fair
just
enough.
doesn't work. And I also like to really uh, dig very deep, like have different reverb settings for different parts of the song, or different amounts of gain, different EQ setting. I like to kind of recreate the studio experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point you just mentioned there. I haven't even mentioned it, but the fact you do sing as well, like, I didn't ask you about that, but is that something you've had lessons for, formal training for, or is that something? Yeah, yeah, you have.
I'm gonna have one today.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah, yeah. I had lessons ever since I started singing. I started singing 7 years ago.
Okay.
Not a very long time, but I started with having lessons from day one and went through various teachers. I had like 7 different voice coaches in my life. Yeah.
Wow. Was that out of necessity that you started singing? That you thought, oh, I play the guitar, can never find a singer that's available or whatever, and maybe I'll do it myself. Like, is
It
that
was
how?
both. That was a nice plus. I
Yeah.
really wanted to express myself using the voice. I found that was something that I needed to be doing. I really had that urge to sing, but at the same time, it would solve that problem as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And honestly, my career, I don't think we would be having a conversation today if I hadn't started singing, because I would have never made the session band.
Yes.
Because that was essentially for me was my playground to try myself out as a singer.
That's amazing. That's really cool. I mean, I want to chat now about your album. That's
Yes.
how long's that been out now? Has it been a couple of weeks or a couple of months?
18 days.
18
Yeah,
days. Wow. Okay.
19 days.
Fantastic. Um,
Fresh,
and
yeah.
are you obviously very happy with it? How it's gone?
Yeah, it's been going very, very well. Yeah,
You said
I'm
earlier
very
that you sold out all the CD copies.
yes, and I've ordered a bunch more, so there's going to be a new batch soon. Yeah.
That's amazing. And again, you said that you were personally signing each of those CDs that went out.
Yes.
Um, that's amazing.
If
And that,
people want that,
yeah,
if some people want an unsigned CD. Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. I mean, um, how long did that process take you, Martin, from like coming up with the songs, composing the songs? How long did that take? How long has it taken you to put that together?
That took almost 5 years.
Wow.
That is an average of one song per year.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, like the story, I have to elaborate a little bit. It's. I started writing songs in late 2018. That's when I thought, I've been singing for a couple of years now. It's time to give composing with the voice a try.
Hmm.
See what that turns out to be. Um, and I actually had 90% of the music finished by March 2019. And then I wrote one more song mid 2019, and that was it. And the rest of the time was just getting everything recorded, getting everything like negotiating with labels, even though I decided to go independently.
Mhm.
Um, Finding the right management, the right promoters, those types of things, the right strategy, that took that just took years. Also, yes, writing lyrics. That was another thing that took a while because I never wrote lyrics in my life before. And so my vocal coach and I actually sat down and co-wrote the lyrics because I also wanted to work with a native English speaker. He's from America.
I was going to say as well. I mean, your English is fantastic, like really great, like speaking. I'm guessing your first language is not English.
No,
No. How
nee,
many languages?
meine Muttersprache ist Deutsch natürlich. Wir können uns auch gerne auf Deutsch unterhalten.
I have no idea what you said, but
That's
it
how I
sounded good.
actually sound like. You know, that's how I sound in real life.
Wow. I mean, if I always think like we're lazy in England. I think when I look at like guys like you can speak German. Do you speak other languages as well, Martin?
I do speak a bit of Spanish, but
Yeah.
don't test me on it. I did have 6 years of Latin as well.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're lazy maybe over here because I speak English and I try my best when we go to Spain to talk a little bit of Spanish,
Mhm.
just ordering things and just trying to be polite. But yeah, you speak German. Your English is very good. um, and I said you do obviously do a little bit of Latin by the sound of it, and a little bit of Spanish. So
Yeah, I don't speak Latin. I could by after 6 years of Latin,
yeah.
we were able to um, translate one sentence out of Caesar's Gallic Wars. Was it what's called in English? The Gallic Wars, his book.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and it was like a this long a sentence, and the final exam was to translate that one sentence. So that's what 6 years of Latin classes get you.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not very efficient.
Let's go back to the album then.
Yeah.
So it took, you said 5 years, was it, to come together? The album come together. Did you record that in the same studio with the session band stuff, or did you do that? No, no.
No, I did all the vocals and guitars here. We did the
Yep.
drums at Sebastian Lanza's place. Is a different drummer. He's from the ex drummer for Obscure and Panzerballet. Nowadays has his own band, Obsidious.
Okay.
He's my drummer for the original stuff. Um, then we recorded in all our respective home studios, but I would always attend the recording sessions because I really like to be in the house. If we're working on original music, I do not just like to send around files.
No.
I really want to be in the room when those things go down to advise and
Yes.
guide the performers. Yeah.
And how do you prep your sort of the musicians you send the music to? Are you quite free? Let them sort of see what they do, or as you said, because I know you said earlier, like quite perfectionist about things. Like,
Yeah.
do you like direct them what you want them to do, or do you let
Very,
them? You
very,
go.
very specific about what I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
it comes to the session band, not at all.
Hmm.
The session band is like, here's the song we play, do whatever you want.
Yes.
And uh, but with my original material, like Sebastian, the drummer, he learned everything note for note, and then of course he puts his spin on it or he changes things around. He's like a drummer doesn't really do that, you know.
Yeah.
Change it like this, or he makes suggestions in the studio, but I always have a veto right on those things, you know. But yeah, I like to be pretty strict with that. It's because you know progressive music is like classical music. It's very through composed.
Yes.
Uh, it needs to be that way. The music is very intentional.
Hmm.
It's there's you know there's it's the beautiful thing about this. The session band is very spontaneous and very improvised and very free. But my own music is quite the opposite of that. It's very intentional with a very clear vision and only really one way of doing it.
Yes.
And yeah, and I love the both those parts of the spectrum.
I was going to ask you that actually. Which is there one that you prefer, or do you like the fact that you're free to do with the session band? It's a bit more
I
spontaneous.
love both, but I'll be honest, my heart is in the original music.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Is there a favorite song on the album that your favorites? Have you got a favorite track out of the ones that
Yeah,
you've
it's
done?
the one that least people listen to.
Oh, right.
It's the longest, and it's the last song. It's Compass Beneath the Lights. That's my
Okay.
favorite. That's
Yeah.
my favorite. Yeah,
And
if anybody's is interested in checking the album out, please listen to that one as well. Listen to the first one, Something New, to get an impression of the overall album.
yep.
And if you just want to listen to one more song, at least give that one a shot.
That's cool. Is am I right in saying it's a five? Is it a 5 song album, 6 song album? I think it's
Yes,
five.
it's 40 minutes long, but it's only five tunes.
Yeah.
I've removed a lot of music from the album actually when putting it together. Like I had a completely full produced instrumental track that I decided to erase from the album last minute because it just didn't feel 100% right. I
Mm.
wanted to make a progressive album with, as my friend said it, with not a gram of fat on it.
Yeah.
No filler, not a minute of that feels dragged out unnecessarily on there, hopefully.
And
At least
the song that was removed, Martin, will that come back? Will that make an appearance maybe on another album? Or
yeah,
yeah,
because I really like it. I like
yes,
it. It just didn't make sense in the overall climactic development of the record. Like when I started jogging around the time that I had the masters done
hmm
and listening to the album front to back. So just to see if I notice anything. And what I did notice is that I started skipping the instrumental,
okay,
and that's not good. That,
no,
that shouldn't be the case. I really wanted. I had the urge to skip it because it didn't feel right within the context of that album. I
okay,
think by itself, it's a very nice piece of music, and I'm happy to present that to the world. But it didn't sit right within the context of the album. It was too different. It was too jammy. My
okay,
my cousin said it perfectly to me when we discussed the album. He said it's more jammy than the rest. The rest of the album isn't jammy at all
no, no. I mean,
because it has some improvisation on it and a
yes.
bit of spontaneity. There's a large section in the middle where the rhythm section just gets to play whatever essentially. Yeah, and it just didn't feel like it was a part of the rest.
And the whole concept of the album, like being a progressive sort of album, and there's a start and a finish, and there's a middle as well, like with music. Does that come from sort of a you said about mentioned them earlier, but Pink Floyd sort of Dark Side of the Moon sort of thing, where you start at the beginning and you're following it all the way through till the end? Like, is that
It is a progressive record, like a progressive rock, progressive metal record,
hmm
but it is not a concept record in the Dark Side of the Moon type of sense.
okay?
It is, however, written in a it is I suggest to listen from start to finish in the exact order of songs
Yes.
because there is an intended experience behind that
Okay.
that you I think you only fully get when you listen start to finish. The songs, however, they can live on their own. They
Yes.
don't need to be listened to as the whole album. Like Dark Side of the Moon doesn't make much sense if you listen to Breathe and then stop. It
Yes.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
With my album, you can do that, although it isn't intended to be like a whole, one whole body of work.
Yeah. It's fantastic. And where did the name come from? Master of My Mind. Where did that come from, Martin?
Maze, Maze of
Maze.
Mind.
Sorry, not Master. Yeah, Maze. Maze of Mine.
Yeah, that is a lyrical line in the song Fragments, and it's just it's kind of self-referential. Me being a perfectionist and
Yes.
overthinker. There's the line, "I'm roaming the maze of my mind," and yeah, this I guess the album is a little bit of a peek into the mind of a pathological perfectionist.
That's amazing.
And
That's
that's
really
why it
cool.
takes 5 years to make a record like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, are you planning on? I know you said about touring with the session band. Are you planning on touring with your original stuff as well? Is that in the pipeline?
That is something that is in the back of my mind, but no concrete plans. I
Okay.
don't have concrete plans for it because, quite frankly, I have no experience doing my own tours.
hmm
I've toured in the past, but it was always as a sideman.
Okay.
I have no clue what it's like to put on your own tour and to sing on stage night after night. I want to have that experience with the session band first. Also, I do believe we have a much easier time selling out a venue with the session band at this point
Yes.
because the concept of me doing original music with vocals is completely new to the public.
Yeah.
And I would like to establish myself a little bit more before I go out on the road with that. I'll also want to do that completely separately from the session band. That is that, that is something I don't want to intertwine with. It doesn't feel right to me to play Rebel Yell and then go into something new. just
Yeah.
doesn't just doesn't feel right to me. And it's also a different group of musicians.
Yes.
Um,
It makes a lot of sense, and it makes a sense as you said to establish your original materials.
yes, and I also want to keep this going. Like this is not a one-off. Like my last album is 10 years old. I don't want to wait another 10 years. I'm writing music as we speak, and I do have like 15 minutes of original music already written for the follow-up, and I want to put that out next year.
Yes. What does that process? Just I'm interested in myself. What does
Yeah.
that process look like for you, Martin? Do you have like a day in your calendar where you go, right, that's gonna be my writing window, a couple of hours, or
Has to be that way, yeah.
yeah,
Because what I really can't do is I cannot like cannot have a day like gonna do a private lesson, then I'm gonna have the interview, and then I need to edit a video. Oh yeah, and I have 2 hours tonight where I can write something. That doesn't check out. That
no,
doesn't check out. So for me, it'll be a case of right. I have a bunch of videos I need to finish this month.
yeah,
Next month we're going on tour, but June is pretty empty yet. So before that, I wrote the book.
yes,
Earlier in the year, late last year. But in June, I really want to carve out some time, like 2 weeks, where I have no other obligations. In 2 weeks, I will write a ton of material, and then maybe do the same thing in July, and then one more time in August, where I take a week, 2 weeks off at a time to focus completely on that.
that's cool. I mean, have you ever had a time? Here's a question for you. Have you ever had a time where you allocate the sort of the day or a couple of hours or even a week, as you said, a couple of weeks, where you sit down and you're like, right, I need to write here now, and maybe there's a pressure of like, I need to write now that it's not coming together. Does that
Mm.
happen? Or
Yeah, yeah, that does happen. There was, well, first of all, I do think that the only way to get things written is to sit down and write.
hmm
I don't think you should be waiting for some divine intervention and hopefully something great will happen. I think the only way to get music written is to apply your ass to the chair and do it.
yes,
And yes, sometimes you'll come up empty-handed. And once again, that's the like the I saw this great video by this YouTuber named Venus Theory, and he made a video about why you have to write bad music, why it's important to write songs that suck, because there's once again that bell curve, right?
yep,
There's down here is the songs that are absolutely horrendously bad.
hmm
Then there's that huge distribution here of average stuff that is not very good, that may suck a little.
hmm
And then there's the top 10% that are really good. And you need to write a bunch of those to get to the top ones.
that makes
I
sense.
feel
Yeah,
like I'm not like that. I don't finish songs that I don't like. But what I mean by that is I'll sit here and there might be 3 days in a row where I come up with nothing that is a keeper.
hmm
But I need those 3 days to come up with nothing, so then I can come up with something.
yes,
So, like for example, there is this part in the song Compass, and it is right before there's this theme in C minor that goes dang ga da ga da boom ba boom ga 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 ga. That's in C minor. My main theme of the song that I wanted to reiterate at the end of the song, that was my plan, is in E major. Now, how do you get from C minor to E major in a natural way that doesn't sound forced? And that transition part that goes ba-do, ba-do, ba-da-do, ba-do, ba-do, ba-da-do, and then has all these diminished passing chords and slash chords in it.
yeah.
I swear to you, it took me 4 or 5 days to find that chord progression that leads me back to E minor.
Wow.
I even bought a book by Max Reger called Modulation, Classical Modulation, and went there, sat down on the piano, went through all those modulations, and tried to draw inspiration from that. And I really had to go back to do
Yeah,
studying, researching to find the tools necessary to get to where I wanted to be. And that
that's
was
amazing.
4 or 5 days that I really felt like I wasted my time, but I did not, because it did get me there in the end.
That's fantastic, Martin. Final thing, I want to ask you one final thing, and it's about your book. Before I let you go, Martin, because I know you're very busy. But yeah, how did that come together? I mean, how long was the book in writing? How long did it take you to write the book? And all the materials for the book, and there's videos that accompany it. It's a lot. It's got to be hours and hours of work.
Yeah, it was probably a process. It's 2 3 months.
Yep.
And usually that would take much longer, but I was very fortunate to have, once again, a native English speaking co-writer.
Yep.
And a lot of the stuff we would do through interviews,
hmm
where we talk like in a Zoom conference, where we talk and discuss, and then we would write something out and reiterate it. And because I had that guidance and that aid, the book did not only turn out better than any other instructional material I've ever done, but it's also come along a little faster. 3 months may seem like a long time, but some of my old instructionals took me forever to put together.
Yes. And you must be pretty proud of that. It's done obviously done very well. Like you must be pretty proud of the book you've just put out.
Yeah, it's we talked about PDF versus paperback earlier. Like
Yes.
I've put out a ton of PDF based or video based lessons online,
Mhm.
but I never had so many people call me or write me on the phone, congratulate me on my book release than compared to the digital world.
Oh wow.
It's like parts of the family reached out that I hadn't been connected to in a while
Yes.
to congratulate me on the book. Like they're non-musicians, non-guitar players, and for them, a book has a bit of a different meaning, a different value.
Yes.
And holding that printed book in your hand, it's amazing. It's just like holding my own CD in my hand. Do
Yes.
you
Look at
need
that.
a CD nowadays? You absolutely do not need a CD nowadays, but it's so damn nice to have. This reminds me of the last 5 years of my life,
Yeah.
and it's good to have that as a memento.
It's a piece of art as well, though, isn't it? It's not the same
Yeah.
as like listening on Spotify. Like it's a piece of art. You've got that in your hand, and there's the artwork on the case. It's the
You
CD.
read the thank you notes and all those
Yes.
things. And also, yeah, so I also on Spotify, because everything is so readily available, you're so quick to go to the next thing.
Hmm.
Whereas when you put in the CD and you sit down on the couch, if you want to change the music, you have to actively get up,
Get up. Yeah.
change the CD, you know?
Yes.
And I feel like, what I did when I was really young? If I had some pocket money, I would go to a CD store and go to the jazz section. There was at the time when I was really interested in discovering more about jazz,
Hmm.
and buy a CD by an artist that I had heard of. You buy that and you go home, because I spent 15 euros on it, which for a kid is an enormous amount of money.
Yes.
Because I spent my own pocket money, and I would sit there and listen and listen. And if I don't like it, I'd still listen. And nowadays, we're becoming a little bit lazy with confronting our own tastes,
Hmm.
or challenging our own tastes a little bit.
It's too easy to skip, isn't it? Like I said on Spotify or on your phone, it's easy to go skip, 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 skip. And they even
And
suggest like
honestly, I,
artists, don't they?
I would have never, maybe I would have never become the Dream Theater fan that I became if I had the opportunity to skip the first time I heard them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the first time I heard them, I didn't think it was that good. It took my child brain a little
Yeah.
bit of time to digest what was going on.
Yes.
And nowadays we're too quick to pass on judgment to music and art in general. Oh, I don't like this. Yeah, well, but maybe you just haven't given it the amount of time. Like, the best pieces of music in world history, a lot of them don't come easy. The Rite of Spring by Stravinsky, that's not an easy listen.
No.
That doesn't click right away. You need to listen to that 100 times to get it.
Yeah, I didn't get Hendrix, if I'm honest, and I've said this to other people. When I first started listening to Hendrix when I was in college, and as you said, like I don't know, adolescent brain or whatever, but I didn't get it. I didn't get what my friend loved about Hendrix, and then it was
Mhm.
only later down the line, like a few years later, I really listened to Hendrix, and I thought, yeah, I get it now.
It's also, yeah, and also, like, if you're like people our age, it's like we already had the Bonamassas around, and
Yeah.
like the hyper technical blues guys, or even SRV,
Yes.
who are and who have evolved based on Hendrix's contribution. But it's almost like it's like then going back to the source. You feel like, well, this isn't as fast and as clean and as
Hmm.
tight and as well produced,
Yes.
and it takes a little to understand. You need to listen to that type of music within the context of the time. You need to understand the time that art was conceived in, to really get it.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Well, look, Martin, I'm just going to open up one more time. If anyone's got any questions for Martin, please do
Yeah.
fire away. But also, if I'm sure people will ask, because you know, it all depends on times as well. I say this every time, but some people, you know, working when I'm doing these things, so people will ask questions. I'm sure. Maybe I'll just farm to you or something on Instagram or whatever, and just send you some questions that people might have to ask you.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, it's been fantastic, Martin, to sit down with you. Thank you so much for doing this because it's your time and it's, you know, I know you're a busy guy, but it's been great just as a fan myself to sit down with you and have a chat with you about things.
Yeah, it was lovely, man.
Yeah,
Nice to talk
it's
to you.
been really great fun. So I do appreciate that. So I'm just going to check one more time because I do miss them sometimes. Oh, here we go. Just says big love, Martin Miller. This is Ryan Davey.
Thank you very
Question
much.
for Martin. Here we go. How do you separate the work you do for the love of it and the work you do to make a living? Interesting.
Oh,
I find it really
okay.
tricky to dedicate my time to what I actually want to do versus what you know, what I have to do musically financially. That's a
Yeah,
really good
yeah,
question.
yeah. Yeah, so I think I've set myself up for for like a long-term plan 15 years ago, or actually 13 years ago. I left music college and graduated and fell into a deep hole. Didn't know what to do with myself. And I was doing a bit of teaching and a bit of gigging, but I was teaching at a private music school, mostly beginners, and I did not enjoy that much because I felt like most of the students who were there weren't really interested in playing the guitar at all.
Yes.
So I didn't enjoy that so much. Then I played gigs where I didn't like the music, and I made a conscious effort. I'm gonna start building my profile, and I want to have whatever I do. I want to be the person in charge. Um, I'm not sure that it'll work for anybody because it basically meant living a very modest life for a couple of years
Yeah.
until things started clicking. So I had very little to live off of for a very long time. It's easy to see me now in this nice home studio
Yes.
and be like, oh, this guy's got it good. No, I did have it very bad for a very long time.
Okay.
Um, and but I stuck with my idea of being my own boss. And whatever I did, I wanted it to be under my. I wanted to have the final word, be able to have the final word on it. So so for example, I started making these JTC courses as opposed to teaching beginners in music school.
Hmm.
Obviously, that takes a while to catch on to generate enough passive income to where I can live off of that comfortably. And I started rejecting gigs that were not mine. Instead, I played in jazz clubs in front of 20 people, but playing music that I liked. So yeah, I said no to a lot of financial opportunities, and I've started building my profile instead. But that's a very long-winded way of doing it. It took a decade to
Yes.
pay off in some way.
Can I ask? Do you mind? That's a bit of a personal question, but can I ask your age, Martin? Because
Yeah,
How old are you, Martin?
I'm 38.
38. Okay. Because I feel like there's still hope for me yet. I'm 33, and a lot of things you're saying like makes a hell of a lot of sense. Like where I am now, where what I'm doing, and where you are now. Like I feel like there's still hope for me. You give me like a, you
I'm
know,
a very late bloomer.
yeah.
Honestly, the last 5 years have been the best by far.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by far. And before that, it was nothing like it.
Fantastic. Very cool.
Yeah.
I'll just check, make sure there's no more I've missed. I said otherwise I will let you go. Just people saying like lots of great insight here from Martin. Thanks very much. Yeah, I think I've caught everything there. I said, Martin, thank you very much, mate, for your time. I do appreciate it, and I
Appreciate it.
hope to catch you on a tour soon. If you come to the UK, I'll definitely be coming to watch.
Yes, yes,
So
yes, yes. Where are you located?
I live in Bristol in the UK.
Bristol.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Nice.
but yeah, if you do come to
I'll
the
tell the
UK,
touring agent to put Bristol on the list
please do. Yes, I will
then.
definitely be there.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Have a great day, Martin, and you
Yes,
take
thank
care.
you. Same to you. Bye.
Cheers.